Hey everyone, it's Maria here. I'm a makeup artist and beauty expert based in Toronto, Canada. And today I'm here to talk to you about some ingredients that I avoid when I purchase products for my store, myself, my makeup kit, and also my family. So look here, we have two mascaras. We have two very, very different formulations. Yes, they both go on beautifully in black, but the formulation and ingredients that go in these couldn't be any more different. Here we have the Lash Paradise mascara by L'Oreal. I picked up this mascara from the duty free on a recent trip to Paris. And here I have my trusted Pure Nata mascara, which is a natural mascara made in Manitoba, Canada. So if you're interested to know what the top ingredients are, the top 5 ingredients that I avoid in my cosmetics and you should be avoiding when you're shopping, then just keep watching. My journey looking into ingredients and kind of wanting to know, what was in there started about 6 years ago, and it started all with my son. And I've shared the story in another video, and I'm not going to take up your time today doing that. I'm going to link it here so you can get a glimpse into that. But, pretty much for me, it wasn't to freak myself out or to fearmonger anyone else. It was just because I truly and honestly wanted to know what was in there. And of course, it started, as a mom, wanting to know what I was putting on my son's skin, right? Who was suffering with sensitivity and severe eczema at the time. And then that slowly kind of went over into the rest of our household. And no, it wasn't, beauty products that I started out with. It was like simple things like, what I was washing his clothing with. But then, once you kind of start looking into things and really wanting to know what it is that's in there, you develop this interest kind of wanting to know what's in everything. All right. And it's not because, I'm a chemist or I have a chemistry background or anything like that, but it's just like, I like doing my own research and I like to know what I'm using. Because let's face it, for most of us, when we look at labels like these, we have no idea what we're looking at. We don't know. Apart from water, you're starting out with water at the top. And then the rest of it, it's pretty much like gibberish, right? Because it's in, these are, the names of ingredients that we have no idea what they are. You look at water, you go farther down and you see beeswax. And maybe you have a couple other things that you recognize on here. But it's just really, really difficult to kind of decipher. And I think it's really important to know what these things are, even some of them, right? So we can make better choices for ourselves and for our families. So back to the 5 ingredients that I want to give you today. I do a lot of research online, and I've also been following David Suzuki's site for a very long time. If you know who David Suzuki is, fantastic. If you don't, he's a brilliant Canadian scientist. He has done so much for, research into the environment. He used to have his own show, just a brilliant man. His website is davidsuzuki.org. But pretty much if you're looking at ingredients and you want to start doing a little bit of your own research and digging in, I will always recommend that maybe you start looking into Google Scholar, get some information that is from either a government body or .org. Make sure that you know where it is that you're getting your information. I think being in school for a very long time taught me that when you're doing research, you got to trust who you're getting the information from. And there are a lot of different sites out there that will give you information. EWG is another one of them, the Environmental Working Group, and you can get some good information on there. But just always be very cautious. When you're getting the information from bodies that actually sell their own stuff, and also the rating system sometimes is not clear on some websites such as EWG. However, there is a lot of information online if you Google it. So David Suzuki gives, the top 12 ingredients to avoid in cosmetics. I'm going to break it down to 5 because I want to make this kind of like digestible for you. 5 are easy to actually keep in mind when you go shopping. And I think that, when I tell you which ones they are, they're going to make sense to you. They're going to make sense that, for sure, we should be avoiding these ingredients. And they're easy to kind of like pick out when you're looking at the back of a box for your soap, for your mascara, for anything else that you're purchasing. So the first one that I'm going to start out with, I have some notes here in front of me so I don't get off topic. I want to make it really succinct for you and very easy to follow. The first one would be perfume, aka fragrance. I cannot tell you in how many things fragrance is put in. And of course, I'm going to focus on cosmetics. So when we're looking at cosmetics, and this is going to just make sense, and you're going to say, Maria, why? But I like my things smelling. Yes, I love a little bit of a scent too. And until recently, until about 6 years ago, I, used traditional fragrances. I loved my Dior. I loved my Chanel. But then slowly, as I kind of started learning and kind of cleaning up our household so my son's sensitivities wouldn't get worse, I started kind of understanding what was in the fragrances. And the point for that is that understanding what's in fragrances, it's actually like we don't know much because fragrance is a protected trade secret. There can be about 3,000 different chemicals that can make up fragrances in mascara, in blush, in cosmetics, in your cream, in your perfume. So whether or not you wear perfume, that doesn't mean that you're completely avoiding fragrance. And this is, of course, for synthetic fragrance. I am not talking about, the essential oils here. So the issues with fragrance is that, yes, of course, if you have someone in your household that's sensitive, even for anyone with asthma, it can definitely trigger, asthma attacks, and it can trigger any sensitivities that people might have. Now, again, I'm not a chemist, but this is kind of what I understand for myself. And what I say to myself is like, really, do I need to have fragrance in this mascara? Why? Why is this Lash Paradise from Europe, which we, believe that has stricter laws on cosmetics? I'll leave that topic for another video. Why does this need to have fragrance? And, one of the answers here is that fragrance, the reason it's put in something like a mascara, like this is going in your eyes, right? And especially if you have sensitive eyes, this is something you need to avoid, is because fragrances a lot of times, especially in something like this, are masking agents, all right? So they are covering up other ingredients that are in there that perhaps the brand does not want you to smell. It just doesn't make sense, does it? Why should your mascara smell? Okay? Lip gloss, that can have it in it. That can be something like flavoring. Perhaps that makes a little bit more sense to you. Maybe you like it. Maybe you like the taste of it. Maybe you like eating it. I'm not really sure. We have so many different tastes. But for things like mascara, I've seen it in blush, that's going on your skin, on your face, and sometimes in close proximity to your eyes. You need to pay attention and make sure that you choose a mascara or another makeup product that just doesn't contain it. It's unnecessary. Why put it in there? And for me, it's kind of just like, makes me more suspicious. What are they covering up with this fragrance that they're adding in here? What is it that they don't want me to smell? And, when I open up a mascara, and I tell this to my clients, I always like to smell it, because then later on, if it goes on me, if it goes bad, I know what it smells like. And this smells very perfumey. This is a mascara, L'Oreal, we have it here as well, Lash Paradise, that, I bought in Europe. Okay, so the second ingredient, and it's not specifically an ingredient, but perhaps a category, this would be petrochemicals. I avoid petrochemicals in anything that I curate for Green Beauty Curator, what I use for myself, and that was pretty much the first ingredient that I became very aware of, because that was what was recommended to heal my son's eczema. I was told to cover my son in Vaseline from head to toe after his bath. And that is how it all started for me, with a petrochemical. Why not use them? Why should we use them? We have so many other options, okay? I healed my son's skin with shea butter. Once I understood what the petrochemical that they were asking me to use did, so the occlusive barrier, trapping the moisture into his skin after the bath, I realized, like, wait a minute, we have other things out there. This is 2023. We have so many options. We are lucky enough in North America to have options from all over the world, of ingredients that can replace petrochemicals? Are we not moving towards towards like a place, an environment, even in our country where we are reducing the usage of coal for our heating systems, for other things that we do. But then, like, how is it that we're still using these ingredients into the personal care products? And petrochemicals, again, it's a big category because it can be listed as mineral oil. So think of that famous like bio oil that you're supposed to rub on your belly when you're pregnant. My goodness, go to the cabinet, grab the olive oil and rub olive oil on your belly, all right? So bio oil, that is a mineral oil. Mineral oil can be listed as paraffin wax, petrolatum. So have a look at your moisturizers, even your mascara, right? So back to the Lash Paradise. I'm so sorry, L'Oreal, I have the packaging here. So it's in a lot of things, moisturizers, oils, makeup, all right? So for example, this mascara, first ingredient is water, second ingredient is paraffin. Paraffin is a petrochemical. So I just want you to understand first what they are. And it's really too bad because farther down, they're also listing, they have a synthetic beeswax that could or could not be made from from petroleum. It could be made from other kind of like fatty esters. So it's very interesting that, we need to use something like this. What could they have used instead? They could have used candelilla wax, which is, for example, what is used in a clean mascara like the Pure Nata mascara. Now, the European Union lists petrolatum. It is classified as a carcinogen. And the way that they think it should be used in their cosmetics, which is interesting because I did get this in Europe, is only if they can trace the entire process of, the extraction, from the crude oil and how this the petrolatum is actually used, right? And how it's actually put into trace the whole process. I mean, like, who does that? Do we ever have an entire image of how we extract the raw ingredient and then by the time it's put into a product? But that is the what they have, this distinction, and we don't have anything like that in Canada. We don't need to trace where this petrolatum is coming from, and pretty much why not use it? I know it's such a cheap ingredient, right? You're gonna say to me, Maria, yeah, well, you know what, olive oil is more expensive. I don't like the smell of it. Shea butter is more expensive. Cocoa butter is harder to use. It hardens. Oh, so many different reasons, right? But it's because you're extracting something from the ground and then you are going through a process, right, to refine it. And during that process is when a lot of impurities can kind of come into play. And when we don't have a way to trace this process, we don't know actually if it has impurities or not. Like, there's just no way to know. So according to David Suzuki's site, one of the contamination concerns with petrolatum specifically is the PAH, which are the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. So the exposure to these, including skin contact over extended periods of time is associated with cancer. So PHAs in petrolatum can also cause skin irritation and allergies. And this is why the EU classifies petrolatum, kind of like restricts the use unless they have a full refining history of the petrolatum, and that it's shown that the substance from which it's produced is not a carcinogen. We don't have any parallel restriction like this in Canada, and I sure don't think we have anything like that in the States either. So this is the reason when you have ingredients like this that come from the ground and then they're put through this kind of like refining process, other things can kind of come into play while they're being refined, and then you have contamination concerns. Now, my third one is going to be coal tar, and I did some digging around, and the government of Canada has an ingredient like hot list, and coal tar is actually on the restricted hot list. And coal tar would have been, used in cosmetics to make things black, pencils, coal liners, mascaras, things like that. So it's nice to see that that is now the use is restricted. So coal tar is restricted, crude and refined. Now, there's other ingredients that are used to make our, favorite makeup like this, the pencils and the mascara, to make them really, really, really black. And yesterday I was researching some products at Walmart, and there are products out there that list a DNC black number 2, or just maybe black number 2. Or it can have the color index number, which is CI 77266. And this is carbon black. And carbon black can also be listed as creosote. I'll put the spelling here for you. So creosote. So there are a lot of different names that these ingredients can go, under. So it's important for you to recognize them when you see them on your, on the back of a label. Now the EWG lists carbon black from a 4 to a 10. Now that depends on how it's used. And it would be a 10 if it's in anything like a powder or an aerosol spray, because it has really severe respiratory health risks. So this is based on the type of the product. Okay, so sometimes when you see a range, it can be, well, how is it used? And that kind of determines if it's a 4 or if it's a 10. And even though carbon black, which is still used in cosmetics, is not coal tar, the irony is that how's it manufactured? It's manufactured by the incomplete combustion of heavy petroleum products such as tar and ethylene cracking tar. Sometimes a small amount of vegetable oil can be added to it, and the end result is a very pure carbon black pigment. The number for that is CI 77266. And this is ready to go and ready to use in makeup products. Now, I'm happy to tell you that this mascara here does not use it. So even though this is a conventional L'Oreal mascara, so what they use is the alternative, right? So if you're not going to use the black number 2, what are you going to use? So this is the color index 77499, which is actually black iron oxides. So the reason for you to avoid the carbon black in your cosmetics, just have a look. If it says black number 2 or if it says carbon black, avoid it, and then try to use the iron oxide alternative. And the reason is that this is still derived from, well, not this, but the carbon black is derived from petrochemicals. This is an example here of something that it can be used in. Okay, the fourth one is one that is, again, in so many different products, and this is the SLS, all right? So now these are foaming agents, so they're in your shampoo, they're in your face wash. They can be quite a harsh, like, foaming agent. It can strip your skin from its, natural protective oils. A lot of different face washes contain these foaming agents. Now, we've done some, work, I guess, in the cosmetic industry, and we've switched over to a lot of other coconut surfactants that can be a good alternative. But the reason also that you should be avoiding SLS, so check your, your hand soap around your house, is because the sodium lauryl sulfate, which is SLS, or sometimes it's referred to as SLES, it's a detergent, right? So think of how harsh it is on your skin. But again, back to the manufacturing process that we talked about in the petrochemicals, this can also have contamination concerns. And this is, again, depending on the manufacturing process, but I feel like as consumers, we don't get a glimpse into the manufacturing process. So how are we to know, right? I'm just assuming that it's going to be contaminated, right? And I'm just going to try and avoid it. And you know what? Because we have other alternatives. So it's not like we don't have a choice. We have the choices now, okay? So you need to make better choices for yourself. So the contamination here would be with ethylene oxide and 1.4 dioxane. Now, the 1.4 dioxane, again, back to the Canada government site, it is under the restricted ingredients for use in cosmetics. And it is because it is it's a possible human carcinogen, okay? And again, like, it's not like that's added in there, that is restricted, but it's the manufacturing process that can contaminate the SLS with this other ingredient. So as someone who is, in her mid-40s, I avoid anything that foams and lathers, even for my shampoo. So you need to check your, your products, even your personal care products in the shower, your shower gel. Are you using a shower gel? How lathery does it get? Your shampoo, your hand soap around the house that the entire, family might be using. And start from there. Start with some, baby steps. Switch to some coconut surfactants, and you will see that in the ingredients, the word of that ingredient for the coconut surfactant, there's so many different ones, but it will have the word cocoa somewhere in it, such as the fifth ingredient I want to give you are the PEGs, and these are the polyethylene glycols. They can be found in so many different products. They are thickeners, softeners, solvents, and they are also derived from petroleum. So we're going back to the petrochemicals, which is number 2. So much of the ingredients that we find in cosmetics are petroleum derived. So when, for me, it's like when I look into my products, it's like I don't want any PEGs. I don't want any petroleum, paraffin, mineral oil. The category is massive. And these PEGs, again, like what is the problem with them? Because they're derived from petroleum, they're processed with ethylene oxide, which also can have contamination concerns with the ingredient I listed before, which is the 1,4 dioxane. This is a known carcinogen. Health Canada restricts the use in cosmetics. So it categorizes PEGs also as a moderate human health priority. So these ingredients can range in your products, from like a number 7, PEG, 20, PEG 100. So if you do a quick search, even if you Google it and you look at PEG 100, for example, PEG 100 stearate. So, this is used again on the skin and hair. It is sometimes considered carcinogenic because of the manufacturing processes that leave behind a residue known as 1,4 dioxane. So this information is everywhere, but the PEGs come in many different numbers in your cosmetics, and you will see them. Like, for example, you will see a PEG 40. This one is a hydrogenated castor oil. This is a polyethylene glycol derivative of a castor oil. It may be, again, contaminated, potentially toxic impurities such as 1,4 dioxane. So have a look at your cosmetics, and the PEGs are really easy to pick out. And then depending on the number, just do a little bit of digging around and see exactly what is that, because the PEG 100 is not the same as the PEG 40. Okay, everyone, so just to summarize this for you, we have perfume. Number 1, it does not have any place in your makeup, especially things that are going around the eyes, okay? If you prefer a little bit of a smell, put it elsewhere, maybe a little bit in your moisturizer, but then just keep in mind that you will never really know what goes in that fragrance formulation, because it is protected by law as a trade secret, and you can have anywhere, between a dozen ingredients up to 3,000 different ingredients that make up that concoction, that mixture. There are so many different fragrance ingredients. There's a good reason to avoid them, because really you don't know what they are. And if a product is irritating to you and it has fragrance in it, there is a very good possibility there's something in that kind of fragrance, like umbrella term, that we can't really dig into, that is actually irritating your eyes or your skin. Don't forget the second one, petrochemicals. That is massive. It's huge. Petrochemicals going to moisturizers, your mascara. It can be in your lipstick. So look for things such as paraffin, mineral oil, petroleum. These are all in petrochemicals. And then same as the PEGs. The PEGs are also derived from petroleum. The third one I gave you was the coal tar, which is actually, I don't think you will find it, but just look for it. But then the next thing to look for would be carbon black. And I already mentioned that is also derived from petroleum, and it can also have contamination concerns. The fourth one was SLS. These are all your foaming agents for shampoos, shower gel, face wash, harsh very harsh ingredient for the skin, for the hair. It can cause, allergies. It can just, like wreak havoc on your skin. So very good reason to avoid it. There's other nice options out there. We have it all, okay? So you don't have to use SLS on your skin. And the fifth one was the PEGs, and these are the polyethylene glycols. See if your products contain them, what number are they, do a little digging around. But these, again, are derived from petroleum, so back to the number 2, and they have contamination concerns with the 1,4 dioxane, which is something that happens during the processing and manufacturing, process. And again, we are cutting a little bit blind as to what these processes are from the raw ingredient to the finished product. So if you want to see what the whole, the top 12 that are on the David Suzuki site for ingredients to avoid, you can check out my blog site. My blog site is greenbeautyexpert.ca. It's the blog site that I started out with about 7 years ago. There's a lot of articles in there and information such as this for education purposes about the ingredients. Again, I am not a chemist. I come from an education background. I love doing research and making better choices for myself and my family, and I hope to inspire you to do the same. Start with baby steps. Start with a couple of ingredients that make sense for you to remove and cut out. Then you can move into 5. If you want the full list, you can visit davidsuzuki.org, or you can visit my website greenbeautyexpert.ca, and and just decide what it is that you want to start removing from your cosmetics. As I said, we have so many beautiful brands out there. We have, individuals such as myself that curate a lot of the better stuff. So you can actually have, some choices that you can make without having to feel overwhelmed. If you don't feel like doing the work, send me a message, drop some questions below, and I would be happy to answer them for you. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.